It's called remote learning, and it means that classrooms are taught by a teacher over a link like Zoom, and that distance between them might be hundreds of miles. But the Teachers' Union doesn't like it. It says that its members are willing to go on strike over plans for a school in Lancashire, as you were saying before the break, to use a teacher in Devon to teach its most able maths students remotely, over 300 miles away.
Around 500 signatories are said to have been made on a confidential petition. But what about the principle of it? Can remote education actually be successful? Oh, well, as you can tell, we've got contact coming in. We've got an incoming link-up with our debaters who are actually here live in the studio. Joining us is the rapping science teacher, Matt Green, who says remote education can be successful. Alongside maths teacher Bobby Seeger, who says face-to-face learning will always supersede virtual, and they are, as I say, right here with us in the GMV studio. So let's start with you. Right. Why is it important to have a teacher in the classroom, face-to-face, even as a support, as this particular school says it's doing?
Yes, a quick bit of etymology on the word education. So education comes from the Latin educare, which means to draw out. So education should be about drawing out knowledge, skills and confidence from young people so that they're able to lead interesting, fulfilling lives that make a difference to themselves, their families, their communities and society. But society exists in the real world, with real people, with real interactions. And as an educator for the past 11 years, I realised that teaching works best when there's a relationship that's built between the teacher at the front and the student. And that takes time, and that requires you to be physically there in person. Right,
I'm going to come straight to Matt. Matt, you listen, we all love your rapping videos. We all learn from them. If you those videos were what was being offered and it was what was required, then we all love you. So it's nothing against you.
Thank you.
But what do you say to that? Surely, if you were there in person, that would be better, wouldn't it?
Well, it's about practicality, and Bobby spoke about the real world. And in the real world, you can't always get the best teachers. You can't have the best teachers at any given time, because it could be due to location. So if in a particular school, they've got a shortage of a maths teacher, but they've got...
Which we know they have, right across the country.
And there's someone fantastic for that role that's 300 miles away, that person can teach it remotely.
Can I just correct you a little bit? They have a maths teacher, but I think what we're talking about here is a bunch of real A-grade students who the school has decided needs very, very high-level tutelage in maths, and they don't think they've got quite that level of tutelage in their schools. So that's why they're outsourcing it to this guy in Devon, this woman in Devon.
And I think it's a good idea, because if you got a teacher somewhere that's got that passion, got that energy and that knowledge that someone doesn't have in the school, why not outsource? My business has been...
Well, very demoralising for the teacher in question, first of all, that's in the class, you could argue, first of all. But secondly, we had a lot of remote learning in COVID. And I think teachers, pupils and parents all agreed that wasn't good.
I think that was an unfair comparison, because COVID, it was an emergency scenario where teachers were just not equipped. Just suddenly overnight, teachers weren't trained and had to deliver online lessons. And it wasn't fair for the teachers, and it definitely wasn't fair for the students. If teachers are given the correct training and the correct equipment, it can be done correctly. I know this.
Would you accept his fundamental point? Because I think it's a good point, actually, that you don't get the same kind of relationship when you're talking to somebody down a line. For example, on programmes like this, we interview politicians. I much prefer it, I know you do as well, Kate, when they're here with us in studio, because you get a much, much better vibe going and you understand more of what they're saying.
They can see your expressions. It's
when they're on the live link, it's a little trickier.
Like in lockdown, and again, when you do virtual interviews, virtual is a compromise when we can't have the perfect situation. The perfect situation is always with the educator in front. And again, if you think about like long-distance relationships, no one will ever say that calling their partner via WhatsApp and Zoom has improved their relationship. At best, it keeps it steady and they're sort of like treading water. And I think the same with teaching. If you've got a virtual teacher, it maybe keeps them above water for a bit. But if you really want that depth of knowledge, and again, I would say teaching is not just about knowledge, it's about that human relationship.
But Bobby, what's the answer if you haven't got the teachers there, if you haven't got the standard, as Matt argues, and if you haven't literally, in some schools, physically got the required teachers for the subject?
So I would say the effort that this school is putting into spending money on this virtual teacher they've got a budget, clearly, spend it towards getting teachers and getting them into Lancashire.
Well, what if they're not there and they can't afford to get the teachers in? This is a better compromise. You've got a situation where you've got a teacher that's got the skills, got the knowledge, and there's someone that's going to be present in there. It's a better scenario.
Can I just cut in here and say what the Star Academy, this is the academy involved here, have told us? They say the virtual teacher model allows us to deploy exceptional teachers into classrooms, obviously remotely, where they are most needed. It costs more, it demands more, and it reflects our belief that every child, regardless of postcode, deserves access to the best education, and we will not compromise.
So they're avoiding having to make peace with shortage.
Because also, teaching is not just about the knowledge, it's about the soft skills. Like, again, a teacher, you can sense the mood in the class, you can sense the presence, you can sense if someone's maybe feeling a bit upset, and these are things that you cannot detect.
But does it merit strike action?
Say again?
Does supporting your line of thought, does it actually merit strike action?
I understand why they're doing it, because ultimately, I think what the school will do is, if it's going well, sort of, they'll pull the rug on the additional teaching person in the class and they'll use it as a cost-cutting measure, because you probably don't have to pay as much for remote.
Slippery slope. I mean, that's
so.
one of the fears, isn't it?
I think it's unlikely. And the thing is, if they're paying the same amount to both teachers, which they could be, because they're both teachers in the UK, then it saves them paying double, which they're currently paying. Every school is currently employing one or thereabouts teachers per class. This school's paying double to get a better service for the students.
All right, let's go to you, because we asked you on X if you think that virtual teaching could work. 20% of you said yes, but 80% of you don't like it. You said no. I have to say, if I was still at school, it would have been completely irrelevant to me, because do you know what I got in my maths O-level? 3%.
I wasn't your teacher. We would have got. We would have got you a good grade.
Should have been around.
If we had both you, whether virtual or real, we'd all be getting, you know, 9s, wouldn't we? At that point. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.